Honorable Men Discord. Benzino says, I'll beat your ass, Curtis. Let's talk about it. Okay, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's just get straight to it. All right, so somebody must have used ChatGPT to make this because 50 Cent looks bloated and Benzino looks like he's from Brazil. Benzino looks like he's from Brazil. I'm sorry, man. But for entertainment purposes, I'm keeping it up there. All right. So you got obviously 50 Cent from New York, Benzino from Boston. I'm not sure it's correct with the age because I thought Benzino said he was 60 years old. Or maybe he's just saying that because he's closer to 60 than 50. In any event, it's got 50 Cent at 47, 244 pounds, Benzino at 170. I want to believe Benzino is heavier than that, especially the photos that I've seen recently of Benzino. 170. Okay. It has them both as orthodox fighters. I guess what 50 Cent has a 76.5 inch reach. We don't know about his reach. This person probably just put that in there. And then Benzino at 68. But listen, Benzino said, I'll beat your ass, Curtis. You know, I could jump right into that and appease some of you that are like, oh, you don't go straight to the video. But I'm not doing that. All right. What I'm going to do is make it interesting, which is let's get straight to the first person that wanted to fight 50 Cent, which was Stevie Jay. Let's get to it.
Curtis, what's good, man? You and your feelings about Daphne? Is she with gang them? Or is it that you sucking little Rod dick? However it go, I want you to fade, nigga. Fuck all that. Since it's entertainment, let me beat the shit out of you on TV or something. Don't duck that. I'm calling you out. What you want to do, Curtis? Curtis! Curtis, what's good, man?
Listen, I know I'm not the only one that finds this entertaining, all right? They're all too grown for this, by the way, all right? They're all too grown for this. The one thing I respect about Benzino, which I'm going to get to this clip, all right, is that he wants to do a celebrity boxing match. You know, obviously, if they're going to fight, let's make it a win-win. You know, I'm just thinking in terms of Benzino. He's like, let me beat your ass and get a check for it, rather than just to beat your ass and get nothing for it. But here's the thing. No one's going to fight 50 Cent. 50 Cent just trolls. He enjoys getting people upset, all right? You're just never going to see the guy. He's going to have security. It's just not going to happen. It was never going to happen back in the days at his height with G-Unit, and it's just not going to happen now. He just stays with security. I don't know. I honestly don't think that's a bad thing. If you think that's a bad thing, I'll see you in the comments. But I think all rappers, once you make a certain level of success, you're making money, you got all these jewelry on you, you know, you're a public figure, you should have security on some level. All right, that's just my opinion. I'll see you in the comments about that. Stevie J's hilarious. I mean, the guy's hilarious. Just the way he said Curtis is hilarious. But so Stevie J, I actually put this in chronological order. So Stevie J was the first one that wanted to fight him. I mean, aside from the, you know, Ja Rule and him going back and forth, I want to say Stevie J was one of the first that wanted to fight 50 Cent. Maybe at one point in time, Fat Joe, back when 50 Cent was active with G-Unit. But I'm talking about publicly saying it on camera. I want to say with Stevie J. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Correct me in the comments. Cool with that. So then after Stevie J, I want to say months later, you know, unfortunately after the passing of Irv Gotti, excuse me, Ja Rule was on the Breakfast Club, and they pretty much baited him into talking about 50 Cent, as they always do. You know, he's never going to be able to avoid it, unfortunately. So he said something along the lines in the interview, I want to say, that he said something about, you know, he tries to, you know, just control his energy. I'm paraphrasing. He doesn't want to go nuclear and lose it, you know, and risk it all. 50 Cent's response, which I have to the side of me, is hilarious, right? 50 Cent said, the Breakfast Club should be ashamed of themselves, asking questions that perpetuates violence. This fool has been getting ready to go what he calls nuclear for 22 years. LOL. Your man is my runts right now. Whatever runts means. Listen, the part where he says this fool has been getting ready to go what he calls nuclear for 22 years, hilarious. Completely hilarious. I just can't imagine being as successful as 50 Cent and wasting time with social media. You're supposed to be at a level. This is comical to me. Yes, it's content. This is what my channel's for, is to share content. But this stuff is comical to me. As long as it's, stays comical, I actually don't want to see anyone get hurt. I'm not here for that. But it's comical to me because I try to understand 50 Cent. He's super successful and he's actually handling his social media. At least I assume he's handling his social media. No, I'm not there to see him handling on his phone doing this. But even if he's telling someone the words for them to text for the social media, it's just crazy to me that you're wasting time with this. You're successful. Now, whether or not Murder Inc. was really truly behind when he was shot, that's a different situation. But even that, I'm not speaking about that publicly. I'm not making jokes. I'm not speaking to those people. Everything is off the record, but that's just me. But hilarious. 50 Cent's reaction is hilarious. But let's get to what we're here for. Benzino saying he wants to beat 50 Cent's ass. All right, so let's get to it.
You can get in the ring and I'll beat your ass, Curtis. Yeah. Me and you could get in the ring for that money. 3 rounds. I'll whoop you. You big and sloppy and too stiff. And I don't believe all that Golden Glove shit. All right, we gonna put that to the side. Mayweather, holla at me. Believe me. I'll be his Huckleberry. How the fuck could I snitch when he was the first one that called him and said that the first one, before any statement that I made anything, he said he shot me. Let's make that clear. All right. Months go by. It's time for the grand jury. Now the grand jury is going to be the jury that got picked to see that if he's going to get charged with attempted murder. In Boston, anything over the waist, attempted murder. Anything below the waist, assault with a dangerous weapon. Above the waist is 15 years and up. Everybody knows that. We get to the grand jury. They ask me, do you know who? I said, nah, I don't know who shot me. Now that's in the paperwork. The grand jury, you can go get the paperwork. They said, nah, I said, I don't know who shot me. I said, I was dizzy, I was fucked up. But you said this. I said, I don't know what I was saying. I was panicking. I was blanking out. I was saying anything. I was in an ambulance. I said anything. I was in the hospital. I was under medication. I was saying anything. They said, okay, fine. Months now go down. It's time to go to court. They tell me they tell my lawyer, God rest Mr. Leppo, they said he has to come in court. I said, I'm not coming in no fucking court. I already told the grand jury I don't know who shot me. If you don't come to court, we're going to give you 6 months contempt. Ain't this a bitch? I said, okay. Me, my father, went to court in Brockton. My nephew was sitting there with his lawyer. Big fat bitch. They're looking at me like, it's funny because they said, if you can see who's in the courtroom, point them out. I said, I don't see anybody. If you see who shot you, point them out. I said, I don't see anybody. It was that simple when I left. There was another 10 witnesses that were white people and everything that were on the highway that witnessed him shooting me. Because I said that he didn't shoot me, he got 18 months for shooting in a dwelling around people. That's what he got charged with. If I would have said he shot me, he would have did 15 years. 15 years. So I don't give a fuck about no internet. I'm solid. 50 Cent, your pussy. My nephew, your pussy. And if any motherfucker, and if there's any real issues, I'm not hard to find. But that's a fact. What I just said was fact. We don't gotta, and the paperwork's out there. So I don't want to hear about no snitching shit.
All right, so he basically explained how it came about that he said he wants to beat 50 Cent's ass is because an old incident with his nephew where his nephew shot him over family issues. And I'm not going to get into that on this episode, but it's an old issue. He explains himself in this video, if you didn't catch it, that he was medicated or high off of whatever they gave him because he was shot. And at that time he was, I guess, speaking freely, and he spoke on the fact that his nephew did it. But when it came time to officially point his nephew out, he never did, which is why his nephew got less time for shooting in a public space. It makes sense to me. It's very clear as day. He's only over explaining because, his reputation is everything to him. And I get it. All right, so I completely get Benzino. The reason why this came about is because that whole story, even though it's old news, because I remember hearing about him. Actually, I remember seeing him in a video speak on the incident. Right now, he did speak on it on video, just like as he is doing now, but he didn't do it officially in court, which is an interesting topic because is that the same thing? Is that considered snitching? I just want to hear from you all in the comments. I don't have an opinion on this, but he didn't do it officially on record when it came to court, but he did speak about it on. So when somebody speaks on an incident on social media but not in court, is that one and the same, or is it two different things? Because he's basically trying to say that it's two different things. Hey, I didn't do it in court. I did say it. I was high at the time, but the video that I saw when he spoke on this incident with his cousin, clearly he wasn't in the hospital. He wasn't high. He just spoke on it. He's like, I was shot by my nephew, you know. So he spoke on it, but he didn't do it on record, right? So that incident with the nephew resurfaced because someone claims that there was a recording where it appears he was speaking to some type of law enforcement about the incident. So they're looking at it like, oh, you snitched. And because that recording came out again, or showed up, appeared somehow, you know, various people kind of ran with it. I believe Whack 100 was one, and 50 Cent also, you know, made a post as always on Instagram in regard to it, and basically saying like, you know, Benzino's a snitch, which got him riled up, which 50 Cent is for some reason capable of riling up everybody in the industry, no matter what age they are. You know, the one person that 50 Cent can't win against is Rick Ross. I mean, if you disagree with me, I'll see you in the comments. But Rick Ross is so witty. He's built for the 50 Cent buffoonery because Rick Ross has that type of energy. Listen, this is just entertaining to me, but that's all it really is. It comes down. That's why Benzino said what he said. But I believe he's serious about wanting to fight 50 Cent. But I don't know why he even decided to say that, because so many people wanted to put hands on 50 Cent, and you just can't get to the man. All right, there's stories after stories. Rack 100 had an old story where him and his people at one point in time caught wind of the fact that 50 Cent was in California. Him and his people showed up to the location that he was at, the hotel, and 50 Cent came down with an entourage of security that looked like they were Navy SEALs, right? And I'm paraphrasing what Whack 100 said about that. You could look that up and hear Whack 100 tell that story. I think he even told that story on Vlad TV, if I'm not mistaken. But in any event, Whack 100 told that story where he showed up. He wanted to put hands on 50 Cent, and you just can't get to the guy. He even said himself, he's like, 50 Cent, I guess, came down with his security shield around him, and 50 Cent looked towards Whack 100 in his direction and kind of like gave him that smirk, like, nah, you're not gonna touch me, you know? So it's comical that he trolls people because he knows at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to get close enough to me to do anything. He's always prepared. You know, the thing about 50 Cent that I respect, that, you know, I don't know why the younger generation and generations close to his age haven't taken note, is like, listen, when you lived a certain lifestyle in the streets and you transition to the music industry and you're making money, you know, everyone just likes to show the cars they have, the jewelry, the houses, and the trips. But he's always, since day one, has been frugal with his money. He's pretty frugal. You don't see 50 and pretty private. Aside from when he was at the height of his rap career, he showed the home he purchased that used to be owned by Mike Tyson. 50 Cent doesn't advertise his locations. And even when it comes to the Lamborghini, which Rick Ross recently made a joke about that because it still has the same wrap. 50 Cent is not concerned with keeping up with cars. He could do it, but he's not even interested in showing you the stuff he has. I mean, he'll show you like the watts of money, you know, on Instagram and stuff like that. But he pretty much is discreet with how he moves. But one thing that is for certain, and he's mentioned it back in the days at the height of his career, is, you know, I remember when there was a time he spoke on his bulletproof vehicle that he purchased and how much he spent on it. He's serious about his security. And that's all because I believe ever since he was shot the way he was shot when he was initially signed to, I want to say, Columbia, when he was with Trackmasters, right? And then I believe he was dropped from Columbia. Don't quote me on that, but because this is old information, I'm just going deep into my my memory, when he was dropped him his initial deal because of his shooting when he got shot, and then eventually Eminem, reached out to him. I think that made him realize, listen, life is precious. He probably didn't realize it all that time in the street doing what he was doing, but that made him realize I could have really been out of here. And he invests the way LeBron invests in his body. 50 Cent invests in security. You are not getting next to that guy. All right? You're not getting next to him. All right? So just keep that in mind. And Benzino's best effort was to challenge him to a celebrity boxing match because you're not getting next to him. But you're also not getting him to fight you because he's smart enough to know, listen, there's always going to be an opportunity you could take an L. And I'm not going to take an L. So he wins money and he gets to win the bragging rights of saying it's publicly recorded that I beat 50 Cent's ass. It's just never going to happen. So the point of this whole video, I know it's long-winded, but the whole point is don't bother challenging 50 Cent. If he trolls you, my advice is just to ignore it, laugh it off. The guy is he's funny. You know what I'm saying? Laugh it off. If anything, if you're not witty, find a friend that's good with comedy and have a friend write something back to him that's funny. Just make it a comical thing because that's all it's ever going to be. You're never going to get to touch the guy. All right? And he's really not going to make time to try to see you to put himself behind bars and risk all his deals and his money. He's doing well for himself. So just take the L on social media and just keep it moving. And at the end of the day, don't just take the L because you're not going to be able to reach out to him. Take the L because you're grown. You're a grown man. Benzino, you're like 60 years old. You're grown. You're too grown for that. 50 Cent's too grown for it, but he's not going to stop. He's just not going to stop. At least I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon. But everyone's too grown, man. Just enjoy your family. Enjoy the money. Continue to see the world. Continue to enjoy the time you have on this planet, and that's it, man. I mean, that's my thought on it. Anyone's thoughts, I'll see you in the comments. Keep it respectful as always. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.